God crowned her hills with beauty, gave her lakes and winding streams. He then edged them all with woodlands as the setting for our dreams. Lovely are her moonlit rivers, shadowed by the sycamores, where the fragrant winds of summer play along the willowed shores. I must roam those wooded hillsides. I must heed the native call, for a pagan voice within me seems to answer to it all. I must walk where squirrels scamper, down a rustic old rail fence, where a choir of birds is singing in the woodland, green and dense. I must learn more of my homeland, for it's a paradise to me. There's no haven quite as peaceful, no place I'd rather be. Indiana is a garden where the seeds of peace have grown, where each tree and vine and flower has a beauty all its own. Lovely are the fields and meadows that reach out to hills that rise, where the dreamy Wabash River wanders on through paradise.
Welcome back, brothers, tourists, and ladies, to another edition of the Chapter House, a look into the chapters and the men who run them of the Old Glory Club. Joining us tonight, as you have already guessed, is the Tippecanoe Society of Indiana, who bring us a wonderful intro video as a first in the Chapter House history. Joining us tonight is Bediah. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thanks for having us tonight.
Absolutely, man. Matthew, looking suspiciously like Vanilla Ice.
That's an actual face doc, so how you guys doing?
Based. And Unknown Motive, which is a phrase that we're hearing a lot these days. How are you, sir? Well, he'll figure it out. Around the same time he figures out his motive. Well, welcome, Tippecanoe Society. That video was very nice. It was a very nice production. What inspired that?
Yeah, that was made by one of our members. Wade Hampton is what he goes on X. Unfortunately, I believe he's suspended right now, but I'm sure he'll be back someday. And if you ever need audio-visual work by him, he's just absolutely masterful at it. So, as you can tell from that video. And that was the official state poem of Indiana that was being read by him.
Well, I had never heard the state poem of Indiana before, but then again, I haven't really heard anything about Indiana before. However, I do know that Indiana has what they call Hoosiers. Could you guys explain to the audience what that is?
Did you ever see that old cereal commercial where it's like Apple Jacks are for kids, why are they for kids? And then, they just are, and that's the whole joke. It's kind of what it is for Hoosiers as well. It is just sort of there's theories about where it comes from, but nobody's really certain.
So Indiana is a land where mystery still persists. That's good to hear. Well, in another first, you guys told us you wanted to do trivia. You wanted to test the audience's knowledge of Indiana as a state. Is this correct?
That's correct. We decided to go outside the box a little bit and try something different and have a trivia contest and see what you could answer with the chat's help.
All right, that sounds awesome. Let me pull up the chat here so I can see who's in it. All right, I see somebody who has the name Hoosier in their name, so we're off to a good start, I guess. Did you just fill the chat with your own guys?
I might have. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, it's more than just people from Indiana.
We filled them with our guys and pallets of bricks, so watch out.
Perfect. Well, when you guys start, when you don't need the bricks anymore, please send us those Soros bucks. Anything helps. Yeah. Did you want to give an intro to this, or just jump into it?
I'd say we just jump into it. Matt, if you want to take the first question, I think we'll be all set.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be a fun way to sort of warm things up. All right. Trivia question number 1. Benjamin Harrison is the only president from Indiana. However, 6 vice presidents hail from our fair state. The first 4 being Schuyler Colfax under Grant, Thomas Hendricks under Cleveland, Charles Fairbanks under Teddy Roosevelt, and Thomas Marshall under Wilson. In the past 37 years, Indiana has spawned 2 foul neocon vice presidents who yearn to lead their supporters in losing gracefully to the left. The most recent one is known in Lincoln Project circles for his conduct on January 6, 2021, as the Guardian of the Republic. He has also called for unity with the left after the slaying of Charlie Kirk. The other's most significant political action in the 21st century was lobbying Barack Obama to pardon the Israeli spy, Jonathan Pollard. Who are these 2 useless Hoosier occupants of the office John Adams called the most insignificant office that ever the invention of a man contrived or his imagination ever conceived?
I love the questions already. Well, so I guess Mike Pence would be one of them. Who was George Bush Jr.'s George W. Bush? Who was his vice president? Chat, do you know?
It wouldn't have been George Bush Jr.
No, that was Cheney.
Oh, wasn't Cheney?
Mr.
Dick Cheney,
Personality.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, another guy. I guess Dan Quayle was seniors. Was his vice president?
That's correct. You got it.
Okay, that one goes to James F. So I got the Pence one, but Quayle, that name is just too ridiculous. Although I guess wasn't Dick Cheney quail hunting when he accidentally blasted his friend in the face?
Yeah,
I don't know if he was quail or pheasant.
Oh, if it was quail hunting, that'd just be 2. That'd be 2
Two on the nose.
All right, so yeah, I had no idea Pence was from Indiana.
Yes, very unfortunately, lives in my hometown now.
Oh, that's so rough.
I know, man.
Could you tell me about the Mike Pence physiognomy? Like, what is about Indiana? Like that kind of. He's got very silver fox features, but at his age, it almost looks like his skin is being stretched over his skull. Is that a visage that you see often in Indiana?
No, I think that's just unique to him. I think that's the result of some amount of plastic surgery.
Of course, how can I forget the plastic surgeons of Indiana? Actually, do you guys, going off of that, do you guys know what the like major demographics were that founded Indiana?
It was a mix. So initially, there was the very first people, white people in the settlement, were from France. They were exploring basically along the Wabash and north of the Ohio River. And then as the English colonies developed, there was an Anglo crossing in, especially that happened right after the Revolutionary War. And then in the 1840s through early 1900s, there was a German and then later an Italian and Irish immigration to the state. And then we, during the Great Migration, we got a healthy dose of scholars.
So the story of Indiana is pretty much the story of the rest of the United States. That's great. Dan Quayle. What can you guys tell our Zoomers about Dan Quayle? I think Dan Quayle was vice president when I was born, but I was not conscious when by the time he was out.
There was a big hi. This is Unknown Motive. Sorry about earlier.
Welcome back.
Thank you. There was a big controversy. I remember.
Is that an unknown?
It's an unknown.
I
he
think
couldn't
you're
spell
muted,
potato.
Unknown Motive.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. So we can hear you, Unknown Motive, but Matt cannot. This is a very common problem with the software that we use. So our director will get that sorted out. But Unknown, please tell us about Mr. Quayle.
Well, basically, very much in the post-war consensus and post-Cold War consensus. If you will. And then there was a big scandal. He spelled potato with an E at the end, and that was just campaign fodder for years. And that was kind of what he was known for. Didn't really. I think he ran for president in 2000, but he never really made it anywhere after he lost the vice presidency.
So I can expand on that just a little bit real quick. He actually he was hosting a spelling bee, and the word was potato, and there was this little kid who spelled it with an O, and he told him it was wrong and disqualified him. And then he became famous for basically misspelling potato, or not knowing the correct spelling of potato, or the possible spellings of potato.
I mean, that's amazing that we used to shame people for not knowing how to spell words when we have certain demographics now in Congress that that can't even speak English. It's God bless you, Dan Quayle. You were the last of a generation who cared about spelling. What a thing. All right, so Indiana. We got Dan Quayle. We got Mike Pence. Do we have another question, or do you guys want to go down a rabbit hole with some other notable figures from the great state?
Well, we have quite a few questions tonight, so we can keep plugging away if Matt wants to go.
Yeah. Before starring as an iconic, though in retrospect deeply subversive adolescent bucking the system in Rebel Without a Cause, this actor hailed from Fairmount, Indiana.
Yeah, I've never seen Rebel Without a Cause. That's not Marlon Brando, is it?
No.
Yeah. All right. Let me bring up the chat again. You guys have to know. Big Tater. Yeah, Obsidian fame. Thank you, sir.
Big Tater.
Big Tater.
Does anyone James Dean? Is this
Correct?
Okay. Wasn't he a musician?
No,
I don't think so.
Because didn't he die? That was he made 2 movies, and that was one of them. He died when he was still.
Yeah, he died in a car accident. There's a whole shrine in Fairmount. They have a museum and everything. That movie Rebel Without a Cause was made in the 50s, and it was like the start of adolescence, which I think is a kind of a downer for our culture, because it was the first time I guess responsibility was divorced from freedom, and that Hollywood was cultivating that. But he's from Fairmount.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I know most about Rebel Without a Cause is how much Devin Stack absolutely hates it as a boomer anthem. So I guess that makes a lot of sense. Although James Dean does appear in a Lana Del Rey song, so I guess that's our Zoomer connection.
All right.
Also, you guys didn't mention this. I don't know why I had to learn about this from the chat. You guys own the Popcorn Man. Orville Redenbacher is Indiana's greatest hero, I'm told. Is this accurate?
I'm not sure he's Indiana's greatest hero, but I think he is from Southern Indiana. Isn't that right? Unknown?
I'm gonna take your word for it. I know he's from Indiana, but I don't know where. We do produce. I mean, I think Southern Indiana produces the particular strain of corn that they use in popcorn.
I mean, this is amazing. So, all right. I imagine if Orville Redenbacher is from Indiana, and you guys have that corn, there must be a popcorn museum somewhere. Have you not been?
Oh, there is. There is popcorn icons all over the state. And I just looked it up. Orville Redenbacher was from Brazil, Indiana, which is in the southwest of the state.
Brazil. Okay, very fitting. I guess this is one of these things. Has the Tippecanoe Society yet taken over the popcorn museum and started giving tours of their own?
Those are goals of 2026.
Okay. Well, we're going to expect a status report. Also, free popcorn once we, like everyone else,
only
in
for
the
Patriots,
organization come down.
Popcorn for Patriots only.
Based.
Popcorn for Patriots is a solid slogan, anyways.
Yeah, it is. The Q-tards will love that one. All right, let's roll us into the next one. I don't even remember what that one was about. Wait, James Dean, of course. Please, Matt, take it away.
The Scottish industrialist Robert Owens financed this utopian community in southern Indiana that failed after 2 years because it attracted too many freeloaders and crackpots. The community is now a state park, but sadly, the utopian spirit that built it survives in many of the do-gooder social policies of the post-war consensus.
Oh, man.
I'll be very curious if the chat can get this one.
Yeah, this is some really deep lore.
Yeah.
Yes, please. What was the utopia in southern Indiana that failed the way all utopias do?
It was a pretty famous one. But still, I mean, these utopian societies never get that big.
K-Dog 1 is the first to weigh in with New Harmony. Is this correct? This is
That's
correct?
Right.
Correct.
I see you though guessing Valparaiso first.
Okay. I see Wade Hampton rolling in here, sir. I don't believe somebody who is so steeped in the history and culture of Indiana is allowed to partake in this. But could you guys give us the deep lore behind New Harmony? Why did it fail? How could a utopian project founded in America, in Indiana, no less, how could that fail?
Basically the way all the other ones have. So there's a lot of, I feel like this is a good transition, and listen to American Spirits. There's a lot of obviously deep lore about social experimenting on the frontier, but the Scottish industrialist, he like set up this society, purchased it, and then he like encouraged people to move there, built this town. Everybody was supposed to have a job, and the town was supposed to run itself, and then lo and behold, like people who don't do any work move there, and it's ruined. So
that's truly astounding. So was it like, why would they even move there? Were they guaranteed wages despite not working? Were they guaranteed housing? Did I lose you guys?
I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the details of that question.
I was cheating.
That's
I was looking
honestly
it up.
probably worth going into.
I'm woefully, I don't know.
All right, that's great. New Harmony. That's a great name for like the second launch of the Titanic or something. We can reappropriate that name in the future. Ironically, of course. Thank you to everyone in the chat. K-Dog 1, you get the first point. I think he also was the one who came up with
this is his second. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. I'm not keeping score. All right, Matt, please roll us into the next one.
This WNBA star who plays for the Indiana Fever has generated the most interest ever in women's basketball, bringing the league's profits up to negative $50 million per year. And she's the only women's basketball player you may have ever heard of.
I mean, that's an amazing statistic, but this isn't fair. Like, because the most popular player that has ever appeared in the WNBA is the Green Dildo, as we all know.
Phenomenal.
And no one actually watches the WNBA. See, Ted Coombs comes in here and says Caitlin Clark, right? Which I know is the right answer because it's the only WNBA name I've ever heard. But like, yeah, I think on a technicality, that's just not right. It's the Green Dildo, which I did not know was invented in Indiana.
Was it? I'm not taking credit for that one.
Well, I'm looking at a map of Indiana right here, and just below Indianapolis is Greenwood. Coincidence? I don't know.
I think
I
not.
think not.
No, it's pretty much established, I guess.
So now that we know that Caitlin Clark is going to be the future governor of Indiana,
Oh God, please
like-
don't prophesy.
Well,
what else? What else do we need to know about Caitlin Clark? Is she old stock? Do her parents own like?
I
half
believe
of
she's from
Indiana?
Iowa. Now you know. That's
There you
about
go.
it.
Person from Iowa.
Oh wow, yeah. I was saying for the benefit of the audience, but when we were backstage, I was saying I've never met anyone from Iowa, which makes me suspicious that it even exists. But I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I saw that.
Please save me.
Oh, my. Let's move on to the next one, Matt.
you
Before
guys
this gets out
blanked
of
out.
control.
What's going on over there? I must have missed something. Untoured. She's not a scholar, also, in case you didn't know. She is of Northern European stock. All right. Question number 5. Indiana criminal law is fairly strict. Indiana law still prohibits the possession and sale of marijuana for all purposes, despite 3 of the 4 states surrounding it having legalized it. 185 years ago, Indiana became the first state to make a felony of this other common 21st century practice.
Cocaine.
No.
Bummer. All right. Well, I guess this one
Worse.
goes over to the
Worse.
chat.
I
Do you
don't
guys
give a
know
shit.
what is a pharmaceutical?
Nope,
No,
it's
it's
not a
like a
pharmaceutical.
practice.
It's a practice.
Oh,
Practice.
it's a practice. A common practice, so not like sodomy.
Yeah,
Well, it's
it's
common now.
notably that it was
common
in
now in the 21st
1851
century.
when something was happening.
Bigamy or polyamory?
Close.
That's
You're
a
on the
good
right
guess.
track.
That's a better guess.
Okay, all right. So it's not fentanyl. I don't think that was invented then.
I think opium was coming about, but it hadn't quite made it to Indiana for the most part.
Sister marriage,
You're getting there. Warmer.
cousin marriage.
Think brother marriage.
So the James draws everything the homosex.
No. Brother with an A.
Oh, so interracial marriage. There we go. Okay.
Yes. Miscegenation. Yes.
Of course, based. I had no idea. This was what year was this?
This is 1851. The Constitution of 1851 banned further
I think it was
migration
1840.
of- Nope. Are we
18,
talking?
it was 1840 that miscegenation became a felony. But the Constitution of 1851 then banned the importation of, or it banned, I guess, new blacks from settling in Indiana.
So if I'm was the Great Migration just after the Civil War, or I thought it was closer to the beginning of the 20th century.
Yeah.
It was
Great
just before the
Migration
Civil War. There was starting to be escaped blacks moving north into the western northern states.
So Indiana was never a slave state.
It was not. In the very beginning, William Henry Harrison, he was from Virginia and he had slaves, but and there were some slaveholders left over, I believe, near Vincennes. I believe the French had slavery, but most of the people moving in afterwards, I think we're going to get into this, but some of there were there was a fairly large Quaker presence in Indiana, and additionally there were people coming hoping to establish kind of smaller farms from parts of the South where they'd been, they didn't have enough land to make it in the, against the Cavaliers in the South. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, if they had a large Quaker presence, I was under the impression that Quakers were notoriously bad at reproducing. Maybe I'm thinking of the Shakers.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of the Shakers. They were specifically I think I remember Jonathan Bowden talking about them. They were, he said they were they against coitus, so they naturally just tended to wither out. But I believe there are still Quakers around.
Yeah,
Well,
the Quakers are just notoriously bad at maintaining power in the communities that they build.
And then another thing, just on the topic, there was in common 21st century parlance, it's assumed that everybody who was anti-slavery prior to the Civil War was abolitionists, and that wasn't necessarily true. A lot of people in Indiana didn't want blacks coming north for economic reasons, to drive down wages if they were free, and then just generally for some of the reasons that might make sense in the 21st century.
yeah, I know that there were a lot of strong arguments from the newer free states that they didn't want slavery because they just didn't want blacks in their states to begin with, no matter what their station was. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, Indiana taking a stance against miscegenation before anyone else. But as they say, as soon as you have to make a law prohibiting something, it's already too late.
It's too late.
Matt.
All right.
We have 15 questions. We're going to break them up into 3, but I have an impromptu thing that I just sort of remembered. And we'd been talking about this in our group chat a while ago. There is a famous meme from Indiana. Vidaya and
Indiana meme.
Do you guys remember talking about this in the group chat?
No, but I see it in the notes.
What's in the? Oh, because I edited the notes, and you can see that. Okay. There's a famous meme that is taken at a gas station, and there's a well-dressed gentleman pumping gas while smoking a cigarette.
There could be memes here, he said to himself out loud. Yeah.
Exactly. That is from Indiana.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I always thought that was from Florida, just by the way the man was dressed. Oh,
The guy is definitely giving off Florida vibes.
So go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just gonna say, Indiana is consistently endearing itself to me at this point. You guys are doing a great job. That meme is A+ material.
Oh man!
All righty, that's my questions. Bida, you're up.
Okay, well, let's start here. In 1930, in Marion, Indiana, a mob conducted an extrajudicial execution of 2 black men in the traditional style of the time. The incident was decried by the Indianapolis Star and the national press, and it became a cause célèbre by progressives in Indianapolis at the time, who made pilgrimages to Marion to mourn at the site of the incident. Historians would have you believe that these 2 dead men didn't do nothing. But what was the actual motivating cause for the mob?
So I gotta say, I love the phrasing of all of these questions so far. They're hilarious. So the motivations of the mob, this is going to be a hard one. I don't think there are too many crimes that we can really go with here. I'm going to guess it was a struggle snuggling.
Partially correct.
It was actually Yeah, it was partially correct. Yeah, we'll give you that. So what happened was three black men accosted a man and his girlfriend on the road, shot the man in the head and dumped his body in the ditch, and then assaulted his girlfriend, who then escaped when a car like drove past them. Essentially, they were arrested, and then the next day, they ended up getting strung up by the mob. But part of the reason that they ended up getting strung up was that the NAACP had gotten involved and was trying to get them moved from the jail in Marion to Indianapolis.
What year was this?
This was 1930.
It's I mean, 1930 I guess wasn't so long ago, but it is very interesting that the same tactics that are used to kind of deny justice to criminals of specific ethnic groups is seems to have been going on for quite some time. This is nearly 100 years ago, right? And nothing has changed since then. So how do historians present this? Like, they always say, of course, they didn't do nothing, but then they'll make up something a little bit further to make it seem like the whites were just insecure about something for some reason.
I mean, they take it in the case of the usual progressive manner, where you can find accounts disparaging the victims of the crime, which is just utterly atrocious, and then basically just talking about how focusing on the fact that the mobs just essentially murdered these people for nothing is most of the way that they do it. But honestly, I've become something of obsessed with this incident back in the 30s. When I found out about it, I was reading a biography of a famous pitcher called Carl Erskine, who was from Indianapolis, or just a city outside of Indianapolis. And he mentioned in the book that one of his earliest memories was being taken by his father, who was a progressive, to Marion to have a religious ceremony in front of the incident, where the site where these two black men were killed. And I was just struck. I was like, my goodness, this sounds like something that progressives would do today.
Yeah, the resemblance is it's striking, and it is interesting again to note that these problems that we're facing today aren't new. That this progressive kind of insanity and strange elevation of the darker skinned races to kind of angelic status seems to be, how do you say, it's in their blood. They can't it's so true. Yeah, they can't see. It's like a foundational tenet of progressivism.
Yeah, and the fact that it's existed for so long is just remarkable to me. And then the contrast, this is also fascinating to me. The contrast of what happened in Marion. Like, how big do you think the mob was in Marion that hung these people?
Oh, in the 1930s?
Yeah. Marion's not a big city. Not even today.
500 people?
No, it was somewhere between 10 to 15,000 people.
Okay, wow, that's
it was basically the entire adult population of Marion, Indiana at the time.
Jeez, man. I mean, that's I mean, if you can only imagine something like that happening, in which white people got together to do something in their own best interest, that's pretty impressive. So does there exist somewhere some bronze memorial of these two men sitting on a park bench?
There are memorials to them. Unfortunately, they all go the progressive route. But you know what's fascinating is there is a famous picture of the incident that was taken, and it was published in the Indianapolis Star and the New York Times. And I can't show it on stream for obvious reasons. Like, YouTube would pull the stream immediately. But I can describe it to you, and it's kind of remarkable. It's a picture at night of these two dead people hanging, And then below it is this crowd of young people all dressed in like very lovely clothes. Like, I don't want to say Sunday best, but something approximating Sunday best. And what really strikes me about it is that there are a ton of women in the crowd just hanging out next to these dead bodies.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was life is cheap, right?
Well, no, I think they commemorated the moment. I think it was like a community moment for them, because apparently the man who took that picture sold 1,000 copies to locals of that photo. So you have to believe that in a number of family photo albums for years in Marion, Indiana, there's just a turn the page. Oh, here's some people hanging. Remember that old mob that we had? Wasn't that great?
I mean, people demand justice. That's it is something worthy of commemorating. It's a shame that it had to go the other way with how the official story is crafted. But
yeah,
such
the
is
only
our
thing
age.
I think that's worth really noting about it today, as far as a comparative context, is that I was thinking about that incident in review of the Charlie Kirk thing, and just thinking, like, these are two populations that lived close to each other, that just viewed something in completely alien ways to each other. Like, they had nothing in common with how they viewed this incident. And I don't know, it's something worth thinking about.
Different ontology.
1930s was a period before, essentially, like, the modern, as things were unraveling, the Civil War era, post-Civil War era was unraveling. And it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a time when mass information dissemination was very new. The transistor radio was relatively new, especially for commercial sale. So the idea, like, it doesn't seem that this massive explosion in the availability of information 100 years later has really done much to change the landscape. So you're right, Bediah, that is a very interesting thing to contemplate.
Yeah. Well, anyways, let's get off that dismal subject and move on to unknown intent.
Okay, yeah, I got one now. This author, whose Slaughterhouse 5 was based on his witnessing of the firebombing of Dresden, another lovely topic, returned to Indianapolis after the Second World War. Today, his house and museum are frequented by school marms who think it's edgy to have their students read his quote-unquote banned books.
Yeah, I mean, that's Vonnegut.
Correct.
But the edginess, I remember when I was younger, I thought he was pretty edgy too, and then I actually read him and I realized he was actually kind of, I mean, it's at this point he's been parodied, and there's so many derivatives of his work that it's just, you've seen it before, even if the author that you read it from didn't know that's what they were doing. So that's a pretty good summary, because he's definitely not edgy anymore.
No way.
Yeah, it's true.
So I don't know the deep lore on Vonnegut, and I feel like we should make grab Christopher Sandbach to make a special appearance just to tell us why that guy actually wasn't that special. But do you guys have any deep Indianapolis lore about Vonnegut?
The only thing I remember is I believe he gave a lot of money to the ACLU of Indianapolis.
Yeah, decidedly not based, but I guess that makes sense.
I could tell you one thing. Both he and his father were both architects by education and trade. So, and there are several buildings around Indianapolis that were designed and built by the Vonnegut's.
Now that is interesting. I had no idea. It's strange that an architect would turn into a fiction author, but you said that he witnessed the firebombing of Dresden?
Yeah, that was the I believe part of the inspiration for his writing of Slaughterhouse 5.
So I imagine that means he was in one of the planes and not actually in Dresden.
No, he was a POW, and I think he had to clean up. He had to help clean up the bodies too.
All right, yeah, that'll leave an effect on an individual. I mean, does Indianapolis have any other artists worth mentioning? I'm sure that our friends Mr. D and Sandbatch could give us some examples, but I'm not familiar with any.
I'll say Booth Tarkington. I know he's not as famous anymore, but back in the day he was quite famous. He was from he was writing basically from like 1890 to the 1930s.
Booth Tarkington.
His most famous novel, which I've read, is The Magnificent Ambersons, which is really quite good. Even if he was he's basically like the 1890s version of a shitlib.
Many such cases. His face is very, very much of his time. That is a hell of a picture. Good for you, Mr. Tarkington. All right, let's roll on over to another question.
All right. Everybody knows that Minnesota is dominated by Lutherans and that much of the South is dominated by Baptists. By contrast, there has never been a single denomination of Christianity that has dominated Christianity in Indiana. However, what has been the most historically dominant denomination in the state of Indiana?
All right, so you said it was founded by the French originally. I'm going to say it's Catholicism.
That's not. As much as I wish that was a fact, it is not the fact. That is not the case. The answer is Methodism.
Methodism.
The French, when they came through here, they were really more just explorers and trappers. They never really settled down, except for some people in the north, which we'll talk about later. But it was really the Anglos coming west after the war that really settled the town. And at one point in time, Methodism peaked at about 25% of the state's population.
So when I think Anglo, I think Anglican. What where do you know the history of Methodism? How do they end up in Indianapolis, and were they an American invention, or did they start in the Old World?
Well, I am by no means an expert on Methodism, but I will tell you this: Wesley was British himself, the person who founded Methodism. But I really think it took off in the Old World, or not in the Old World, in America, and it was essentially an offshoot of Anglicanism.
So, what's Indiana Methodism like? Is it based or is it cringe?
Oh, it's so cringe. It's just horrendously cringe, unfortunately.
It's as cringe as you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
They recently had their international sort of get together where they decide what the tenets of their church are, and it was roundly mocked on Twitter because there was safe spaces and hall monitors, and they went around and talked about how much diversity they had, and they ultimately decided to allow gay marriage officially, and that was announced by a gay pastor and his gay husband on the stage.
Yeah.
So they're intentionally just trying to destroy the Methodist Church.
Alas for our Methodist brethren, yes, it does sound like that is decidedly cringe.
It is quite sad. I mean, all over the state, you'll see these old Methodist churches. I mean, my hometown has like 4 of them. But like nobody attends these places anymore. They are all dying completely.
So my question, you preempted my question. What's the architecture of their churches like? Is it mostly brickwork, or is it what's the architecture?
I'm terrible at describing architecture styles because I'm not that knowledgeable about it. But I can tell you the kinds that I typically see are brick with sort of the wood trim in a very like colonial style. They're not very fancy. They're not very fancy or ornate, but they're very, I don't know, they're very Protestant American, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Really
red
it's
brick.
clean.
Yeah, red brick, white steeple.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
much.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful churches for the most part.
So what is the religious scene in Indiana looking like? Because I know that in a lot of places in the United States, it feels like there is a large upswell of young men, in particular, gravitating towards more traditional forms of Christianity. Is Indiana a part of this trend, or is it still kind of stuck in the knots?
The dominant Indiana's pretty milquetoast, really, when you get down to it. There are pockets, like our fellow Matt here is a hardcore Orthodox, and that's growing by leaps and bounds as it is in many places. But it's very milquetoast. Lots of evangelicals, lots of non-denominational Protestants. That's probably the two biggest divisions these days, and then Catholicism, which is, like everywhere in the United States, there's the mainstream Catholics, the Novus Ordo, who are very center right, and then there's the Latin Mass people who are very much to the right wing.
I mean, based.
And
Yeah,
you may have seen.
Go
you
ahead,
may have
Matt.
seen our lieutenant governor get dragged on Twitter. He was a former pastor, Micah Beckwith, who was just sort of this, light show and guitar and skinny jeans evangelical pastor. And he got dragged on Twitter for posing with the Haitian immigrant community and the Mexican immigrant community and standing with our greatest ally in the Middle East. There's quite a bit of that sort of just muddled mess of Christianity.
A lot of dispies, basically.
Definitely.
Dispensational.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because
Oh yeah.
go ahead, Unknown.
I was just going to say a lot of Catholicism. I mean, they're opening their arms to fill their pews with Venezuelans, Haitians, other Latin
Very true.
Americans. Yeah.
Right. I was going to say, I was going to ask, is Indiana also falling to the injection of diversity, the fresh injections of diversity from such exotic
It's
places
insane.
as Haiti and here,
It's
let me
insane.
Yeah.
zoom
Conan
in
O'Brien
there.
told me it's awesome though.
How about Burundi? You get a lot of Burundians in Indiana.
Thank God we don't have Burundis yet, but we will. Fair amount of Burmese people.
Ooh.
Yeah, in Indianapolis, and I saw a progressive magazine bragging, Indianapolis is now it's about 30% white. Down, it was about 90% white as recently as, the 80s. And we've got the same thing as like Springfield, where we got these real small towns with chicken packing plants that are getting flooded with Haitians. Some of our guys live there or near there and see it in real life. There's a lot of Haitians here in Indianapolis. I see them quite a bit. It's always a shock. And that's just what's documented, You go to the DMV or any place where you've got to really deal with the general population, and it's astounding. It is astounding.
Well, that's depressing. You always hope to find at least one state that hasn't been completely molested by the deprivations of the ruling class. But I suppose if there was one of those that existed, we'd all know about it.
No, we're all in this together.
All right. I do have one question before we go on. Why is South Bend Indiana at the northern tip of the state?
I believe it's for a river. That was
It's the south bend of the St. Joseph's River.
yeah.
Lame. Okay, yeah. Let's hop into another question. I just had a quick one for that.
Okay. Unknown, I believe it's yours.
Okay. On July 9th, 1863, just south of Corydon, Indiana, Colonel Richard Morgan routed the local militia during this raid into Union territory, named for his more famous brother.
Can you read that one more time, please?
Sorry. On July 9th, 1863, just south of Corydon, Indiana, Colonel Richard Morgan routed the local militia during this raid into Union territory, named for his more famous brother. I guess you could name the brother or the raid.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Pierce Morgan.
Amazing. I just have a wonderful mental image now.
John Brown's raid, says Alabama.
K-Dog's got it.
Of course he does. Of Morgan's raid. Well, yeah, that makes sense. But his name wasn't Morgan,
fair
was
enough.
It was John Hunt Morgan.
it? John Hunt Morgan.
Yeah, he led a raid into Indiana. I think he went into a little part of Ohio and it kind of dissipated. He got captured, and then I believe he escaped. But the battle where that place where they fought, that's one of the few Civil War battles in Indiana. It's close to the Ohio River, and the Constitution of Indiana was actually drafted there. It was the first state capital after Indiana entered the Union.
So what does this raid look like? Does he ride up with some men on a Union position, start firing, and then retreat? Or is he like burning like towns?
I don't think it was quite like burning, but it was mainly, I believe, to draw attention away from other theaters of the war, and it did scare like the governors and the populaces of the North. He brought some pretty crack Confederate troops, a few regiments, I believe, and Indiana's troops were the actual army and the volunteers were deployed either, with at that point it would probably have still been Grant down toward Vicksburg or in the Eastern Theater, so there weren't like a ton of guys to defend in southern Indiana. And I think there was some sympathy. There were like, called them Copperheads in southern Indiana who had southern sympathy during the war, or at least didn't care for Lincoln and the Republicans. So they I forgot, I lost my train of thought, but in any event, it was basically like he was mainly just going through gathering supplies and creating a distraction to he was trying to basically pull northern units out of, particularly after the fall of Vicksburg. It was getting pretty desperate, so they were trying to pull Union troops away from those theaters so that the other Southern commanders could counterattack.
And this was later in the war.
Yeah, it was right in the middle. So July of 1863. I think Gettysburg was a few days before that, and then Vicksburg also. So, probably like at the climax, if you will.
So why was it named after his brother?
So John Hunt Morgan was the commander, and Colonel Richard Morgan led the detachment that routed the militia around Corydon, Indiana, and it's known as Morgan's Raid in history.
Interesting. So I hope that there are some memorials to that floating around.
I think we have another question on that very topic, or a similar one, but there is a battlefield that commemorates it. I don't recall. I've been there once. I don't recall seeing any monuments to anyone on either side.
Interesting. I mean, that is interesting. I wouldn't expect there to be no monuments, but well, that is an eccentricity. I assume. Anyway, let's hop onto another one.
Okay, unknown. Go ahead. And real quick, not me, not you. We've got 6 more questions. We can go on for as long as you want to go. Is there a hard stop for this?
No, there isn't. We can just go through the questions. I mean, I think they're fun. So it's we
Okay,
might as well
great.
just run this out.
Sounds great.
Okay, these next 2 are related to the Battle of Tippecanoe, which is obviously the battle that gave name to our chapter. So the first one, this brother of Tecumseh promised the Indians under his command that his magic spell would make William Henry Harrison's troops' bullets bounce off of the Indians at the Battle of Tippecanoe. Fortunately for the Americans, the magic didn't work.
George Bagby is going to be annoyed with me if he ever listens to this, because I heard it from his mouth who the name of this man, and I have no idea. So I'll just go with Makes It Rain.
Close. He was called in English the Prophet, and I think he had a name before that I don't remember what it translated to, but it was Lalawithica. Also, you mentioned George Bagby. The Tippecanoe Society did kind of a private stream that we might release at some other point, but he asked me to plug his book, Buy It Now, The Old Northwest, A Chronicle of the Ohio Valley and Beyond, Volume 19 by Frederick Austin Ogg. Definitely go to Tall Men Books, buy Bagby's stuff. There's some excellent history there. You can catch up on your old Indiana lore, or obviously other parts of the country.
Yeah, Mr. Bagby's doing God's work by keeping our history alive.
Amen.
In a time when the historical revisionism, or I should say, historical iconoclasm is mainstream. But yeah, I think actually in the Old Glory Club New York Proto chapter is a relative of Tecumseh. So I'll have to next time I see him, I'll have to talk to him about all that. It should be fun. What do you guys know that the history of the tribes in Indianapolis? Or I'm sorry, in Indiana.
Oh boy, I feel like we could be here forever if we're going to go into that.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
Pretty deep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we don't have to get too deep into it. Who was? I guess we'll just go. Which tribe was the most badass?
Not the Miami.
Yeah, no. Well, the Miami weren't bad. So okay, the Bagby would do a better job of this, but there was a battle that was very important to Indiana's future. I think it took place in it was halfway up the border between Indiana and Ohio, and it was the worst defeat in American history. It's called Sinclair's defeat. Arthur Sinclair, he was a Revolutionary War general, but he was in charge of pacifying the Indians who were north of the Ohio right after the Revolutionary War ended during the Washington administration, and he led his men into slaughter. I think they were a combination of Miami and Shawnee and some other groups, but yeah, that was a black eye, and it took Anthony Wayne to rebuild an army and go and right that wrong, and then for William Henry Harrison and others to continue, so that our Americans could come and settle.
So what was this? Just undermanned, or were they outplayed?
They were outplayed. They were they set up their camp on a hill thinking that the Indians weren't going to attack up it. But the Indians essentially, they surrounded and routed them. I think it was they lost like 75% of their men. It was a slaughter. They were surrounded and just hacked to pieces. Like prominent guys, generals, and regular common soldiers alike. But they were just it was awful, and it set settlement back in Ohio and Indiana probably like 10, 15 years.
Well, damn. I'll have to look into that. It was Sinclair's defeat, Sinclair's massacre.
Yeah, Sinclair's defeat.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a jolly one.
It had a happy ending. Eventually, William Henry Harrison triumphed at Tippecanoe, but before that, Anthony Wayne defeated the Indians at the Battle of Fallen Timbers, and was able to get them to sign the treaties that allowed for further settlement in Ohio and eventually Indiana. So, the Americans always win in the end.
And you have to remember too that Indiana was the frontier of America in America's infancy. Like, we were still figuring things out.
Yeah, so I guess we can't be too hard on ourselves about it. That's great. But yeah, let's hop into the next one.
Okay. Also at the Battle of Tippecanoe, General Harrison's treacherous servant betrayed the Americans to the Indians and told them that Harrison rode a white horse. In the chaos of the battle, this aide-de-camp of Harrison rode the white horse into battle and was picked off by the Indian forces. This is pretty deep lore. I don't think anyone will get it unless it's Wade Hampton chiming in.
His aide?
Yeah, it was his aide.
Yeah, no, this is gonna have to be the chat, and I guess Wade Hampton, we're gonna have to let you take a minute or two before you answer. So his aide tipped them off that he'd be on that the commander would be on the white horse.
No, I said servant. So his servant was captured by the Indians, or I think he may have defected too. But either way, he betrayed what Harrison looked like, and that he rode on a white horse. So then, tragically, Harrison's aide, an officer with him, gets on the white horse and he gets shot to pieces.
Is this the picture of the aide? Is that your avatar, Unknown Motive?
Actually, no, that's Zachary Taylor, I believe, in the Mexican War. It was totally unrelated.
All right. Well, it seems like everyone's coming up with goose eggs on this. What was his name?
It was Colonel Abraham Owen. Owensboro, Kentucky is named after him. It's a fairly large city for Kentucky, and then there are Owen counties in Kentucky and Indiana in his honor.
All right. Yeah. More history. That's perfect. Give us we'll just roll into the next one because it is past our normal hour.
All right, we'll keep going then. In the madness of the Summer of Floyd, the only Confederate monument in Indianapolis was removed from Garfield Park, and it was presumably destroyed because no one's seen it since. The Confederate Soldier and Sailors Monument was built in 1912 from a campaign led by General William C. Oates. What was this Confederate monument in a northern state commemorating?
Ooh. Appomattox?
No, that's a good guess though. No, it is commemorating as an apology the death of 1,600 Confederate prisoners of war at Camp Morton in Indianapolis, which was the largest prisoner of war camp in the Union, with appallingly terrible conditions. I should add.
I mean,
like
that's a
third of the
little gesture of reconciliation.
Yeah, which was removed, of course, in 2020 because Confederate monuments are evil.
Yeah, it's I don't know. When we win, we're gonna have to put them all back up. But there's a lot of statues we got to put up when we win.
No kidding. No kidding. I was so furious. I'll never ever forget the destruction of that monument because I remember the first time I ever saw it, and it just sort of made me realize, like, oh, you know what? Like, there was a real healing and coming together that happened in the 1910s in between the northern and the southern states as the generation that fought the war was essentially gone.
Yeah, they were only 50 years removed from the conflict, and now, like hundreds of years later, people who weren't even alive are now, so they somehow have more, claim to that history than we do.
Yeah, I mean, the claim is rabid and foaming at the mouth, but is there any sort of, I can't imagine there is, but is there any sort of, I guess you could say movement to try and get it restored, or like is the government of Indianapolis just too far gone?
The government of Indy's too far gone, way too far gone. Someday, not me, not you. I will say though, as a little footnote, General William C. Oates, the guy who led the campaign to get it built, fascinating dude. He was a colonel for the Confederacy in the Civil War, but stuck around long enough that later during the Spanish-American War, he was a general in the U.S. Army. That's the only example I could think of a Confederate officer who later became a army officer.
I mean, good for him.
He actually, it sounds like he attacked. He was one of the regiment. He led one of the regiments that attacked Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain on the Little Round Top at the Battle of
That's
Gettysburg.
true.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it rolling.
Okay. This white politician gave a speech to his black supporters after the Martin Luther King Jr. assassination and was able to connect with them and thus spared Indianapolis the major rioting that plagued other cities throughout the nation. Every single white Democrat politician, professor, and schoolmarm since has relentlessly mimicked him and Atticus Finch, but never to any good use.
Interesting. I'm sure I've seen a clip of this or a picture or something, but I the name doesn't come to mind. Did he go on to do anything outside of Indiana?
For a few more weeks.
Oh boy.
Was he also blasted?
He was also blasted.
Oh, it really? RFK?
Correct.
That's right. Yep.
Oh man.
There's a statue of him in the park where he gave the speech.
That guy just
that one's
sucks.
still up.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So, I mean, obviously he wasn't from Indiana. What was he doing there?
He was campaigning.
Campaigning.
I think he won. I believe he won Indiana in the Democratic primary.
Amazing. And they put up a statue for him for this.
Mm-hmm. Of course they did.
You know, something similar like that happened in Hartford, Connecticut. The black population after Martin Luther King's assassination began to riot and started moving out of their enclave in the north, further south to where the Italians lived. And the story goes that the reason that their rioting didn't reach the south end is because the police told the rioters that if you go down there, those Italians are going to shoot you and we're not going to be able to stop them. And so they turned around and went home. I think I'd rather have those police than RFK.
Yeah, I agree.
Italians winning out over the Irish once again. All right, let's roll into another Indiana.
Two more
war.
questions. Go ahead, Adnan.
Okay, this second largest city in the state is named for the strong point built by the victorious general of the Battle of Fallen Timbers and who avenged St. Clair's defeat and secured American settlement into the Ohio River, Ohio country north of the Ohio River.
You know, you said the name multiple times, and it's already out of my head. But is that Fort Wayne?
That's correct.
Yeah. All right.
That's named after Anthony Wayne, obviously, and yeah, as the victor of the Battle of the Fallen Timbers that we just talked about earlier.
What's Fort Wayne like? Is that a little bit more heritage American, or has that been corrupted as well?
It's like a smaller version of Indy, from what I understand. Maybe a little more red, but not much.
It is where Mike Pence became famous, because that was where he became a representative.
He became a representative.
Oh, I like it even less now.
He was
I know,
living in Fort Wayne.
Yeah,
Like,
he and the whole Pence family, Greg Pence too. They're all from the Fort Wayne area.
All right. Well, maybe I won't visit there.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a good question to
Don't
ask.
waste your time.
When I come to Indiana, to get the bad taste of the Indianapolis bus station out of my mouth, where should I visit?
I think the Speedway
You got to go to the
is
Motor
mandatory.
Speedway.
Yeah,
What town is that in?
it's in Indianapolis, but technically in the town of Speedway, but a lot of history there. I mean, and that's that's the only international event I really believe that occurs in Indiana, the 500.
Okay.
It is a
All right.
massive monument to the engineering genius of white men.
Based. I'm sure it's not that explicit, but yeah, it's still close enough.
I'm sure you're going to find little plaques about this is the first black technician to ever see a car where it was in the Indy 500. Some stupid thing like that.
1954, the bathrooms were desegregated.
We was NASCAR and shit.
It's IndyCar, not NASCAR.
Yeah. All right, hit us with that last one.
All right, last question. Sorry, I get pretty touchy when it comes to comparing us to NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean, Indy cars are obviously way cooler.
The French explorer La Salle was the first European to set foot in this city before it was a city in 1679. It is the home of E. Michael Jones, the University of Notre Dame, and the appropriately named Pete Buttigieg.
Isn't that Buttigieg? Oh, I
Yes.
didn't know he was from Indiana.
Yes, sadly he is.
Mayor Pete.
Oh,
as
it's
E.
so,
Michael Jones
it's
calls
so
him.
awful.
Oh, okay, that's South Bend, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, the movie
man.
Rudy. That's another Indiana thing, Indiana lore. That's a saving grace of South Bend, I guess.
The movie
I
Rudy.
guess. Yeah, it's about Notre Dame.
Rudy.
No, I know the meme, but I've never seen the
You've
movie.
never seen the movie?
No,
Oh,
what year did it
man.
come out?
It's got
A 90s. It has Sean. It has a what's built Sean Austin.
Sean Austin, yeah.
What is he? That,
Sam
not-
Gamgee.
Samwise
Yeah, he's got
Gamgee from
Samwise Gamgee. Oh, is that when he plays a football player?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
the one.
Okay. Yeah, still never seen it, but yeah. All right, there you go. South Bend, Indiana, home of Pete Buttigieg and who else was it?
E. Michael Jones.
E. Michael
Oh.
Jones,
All right.
who was the professor at St. Mary's University.
I
St.
guess
Mary's
I could-
College.
I could
Or
say that
was,
kind
I can't remember.
out.
He was fired probably for anti-Semitism.
I mean,
Yeah, of course.
that's amazing. All right, guys. This has been a great look into Indiana. But before I start moving on to the super chats, we spent a lot of time getting to know you guys with the Tippecanoe Society, and I got to say, you obviously have a very very kind of loose and fun way about you guys, which I appreciate. But what is the Tippecanoe Society getting up to these days? What do you guys spend your meeting time on?
Well, we just had a meeting last weekend. We went down to a public park in Franklin, Indiana, and had burgers and brats, and we played the traditional card game of Indiana. I don't know if you've heard of it, euchre.
Just another made up name, huh? Like, why didn't you call it Hoosier?
It's euchre. It was brought to the state by the German immigrants.
Very cool. All right, so you guys played euchre, and you got was there much merriment?
Yeah, we had a great time.
Well, that's
Yeah,
great,
we
guys.
just grilled.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes that's all you can do with all the darkness in the world. Sometimes you just gotta cut out and grill. All right, I'm gonna hop over to the super chats real quick because we got two of them. Christopher Burks, $2 for a salute. Is he one of yours?
I don't think so.
Maybe. Who was that?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Christopher Burks. Well, it's the first time I've seen that name, so welcome, sir. Salute to you. And Chief Slingin' Beef for $5. Take my money. Thank you, sir. I love engines. You boys should have seceded with us so we could have been such a beautiful family. But alas, the past is the past. T for 2.
They do say that Indiana is the middle finger of the South sticking up into the North. I have heard that.
There was a non-trivial part of Indiana that definitely, well, I don't want to say they wanted to secede, but they definitely did not want to fight the war.
There is no shortage of Confederate flags flying around in this state. Not in Indy, but there's a lot of them.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Everyone knows I'm up in the Northeast, and I still see Confederate flags every once in a while. But for a while, it was one of those things that if you flew one up here, your house would probably get vandalized. Brave, so brave,
Stunning.
stunning, exactly. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Do you guys have anywhere that people can reach out to you besides the OGC website, maybe a Twitter handle or even your personal Twitter handles?
We do have a Tippecanoe Society Twitter X handle, but other than that, it's essentially just the OGC website. And then, if you want to get involved, we can vet you and put you in our public Telegram and just to have you start coming to meetings and get to know you.
All right. And do you guys have any big events coming up?
We will be doing a service project later towards the end of the year. But right now, there's no big events in the immediate future.
Well, that's wonderful. Bediah, Matt, Unknown Motive, thanks for joining us and for allowing us to get a look into the guys who make up the Tippecanoe Society. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you very much. NotMeNotYou.
And for the listener, thank you for joining us. Next week is Memento Mori of West Tennessee. Until then, you can catch Pony Express Radio tomorrow night, every Thursday at 8 p.m. and American Spirits every Monday at 8 as well. For the Chapter House and the Old Glory Club, I'm NotMeNotYou. Thank you very much.